Imagine the sting of leather against skin, the pungent odor of perspiration mingling with the musty scent of a hidden chamber, the coarse bite of ropes chafing wrists as they strain against unyielding posts. You hear the sharp crack echoing in the dim light, feel the icy draft seeping through cracks in the walls, and wonder how pleasure could emerge from such calculated torment. But if this scene unsettles you, brace yourself. The secrets of Victorian England's underbelly grow far more twisted from here. In the heart of the 19th century, Victorian England stood as a bastion of progress and propriety, an era defined by the relentless churn of the Industrial Revolution. Factories belched smoke into the skies over London, Manchester, and Birmingham, transforming pastoral landscapes into sprawling urban hives where millions toiled in soot-choked mills and workshops. Queen Victoria's reign, from 1837 to 1901, symbolized unyielding moral rectitude, with her personal devotion to family and duty setting the tone for a society obsessed with decorum. Yet beneath this veneer of starched collars and buttoned-up restraint lay a cauldron of contradictions. The British Empire spanned the globe, amassing wealth from colonies in India, Africa, and beyond, while at home, rigid class divisions segregated the aristocracy in their opulent estates from the destitute masses crammed into disease-ridden slums. Sexual expression, shrouded in taboo, became a battleground of repression and rebellion. Influenced by evangelical Christianity and emerging scientific discourses, Victorians viewed carnal desires as perilous forces to be tamed, lest they unravel the social order. Medical treatises warned of the depleting effects of indulgence, equating it with moral decay and physical ruin. Women, idealized as angelic guardians of the home, were expected to embody purity, their education often omitting any whisper of bodily functions. Men, burdened by the imperative to provide and procreate, navigated a double standard that permitted discreet vices while demanding public virtue. Prostitution flourished in the shadows of gaslit streets, with estimates suggesting up to 80,000 women in London alone engaging in the trade, driven by poverty and limited opportunities. Pornographic literature circulated clandestinely, fueling fantasies that the daylight world denied. Inventions like the corset and crinoline enforced physical constraint, symbolizing the era's broader efforts to bind unruly impulses. Yet this suppression bred bizarre adaptations, rituals born of fear, ignorance, and desperation. Superstitions intertwined with pseudoscience, leading to practices that blended the absurd with the alarming. As the population swelled and cities teemed with anonymity, underground networks of brothels, medical quacks, and secretive societies emerged, with a forbidden found expression. The air in these hidden realms carried the acrid tang of opium smoke and unwashed linens, the textures of velvet curtains concealing acts that defied the era's pious facade. Sounds of muffled whispers and creaking floorboards betrayed the constant threat of discovery, while the chill of unheated attics amplified the isolation of those who dared indulge. This was a world where the quest for control over the body twisted into forms of self-denial and excess, where rationale often masked deeper neuroses. Consequences ranged from shattered health to ruined reputations, as individuals grappled with the era's unforgiving judgments. Named figures like Dr. John Harvey Kellogg championed ascetic regimens, while scandals ensnared the elite, revealing the hypocrisy at society's core. As we delve into these practices, each more unsettling than the last, we uncover how Victorian England's obsession with restraint birthed innovations and intimacy that continue to astonish. The first practice, known among the era's moralists as conjugal sparing, emerged as a cornerstone of marital discipline. Picture a dimly lit bedroom in a modest terraced house in Manchester, where a young bride named Eliza lay rigid beneath heavy quilts, the faint odor of lavender sachets failing to mask the stale air of unspoken tension. Her husband, a mill worker exhausted from his shift, approached with hesitation, knowing their union must be brief and infrequent. The mechanic involved deliberate limitation, Couples restricted encounters to once a month or less, often only for procreation, tracking cycles with meticulous calendars. Rationale stemmed from medical warnings that excessive indulgence drained vital energies, leading to weakness and early death, as preached in tracts like those of Reverend Sylvester Graham. Consequences included emotional estrangement, with many wives developing chronic ailments from suppressed desires, while husbands sought solace elsewhere, risking disease. A named example was Elizabeth Blackwell, the pioneering female physician who advocated moderated unions in her writings, though her own life remained celibate. But if sparing seemed merely austere, the next ritual took restraint into the realm of daily deprivation, promising to extinguish flames before they ignited. The second practice, culinary suppression, transformed the dinner table into a battlefield against carnal urges. Envision a family gathered in a stuffy dining room in Birmingham, the air thick with the bland aroma of boiled oats and unsalted bread, textures mushy and unyielding under the tongue. Parents enforced a regimen of flavorless foods, cornflakes, graham crackers, and plain porridges, avoiding spices, meats, or anything stimulating. The mechanic required strict adherence, with children monitored for signs of indulgence, rationalized by beliefs that rich diets inflame passions, as Dr. John Harvey Kellogg argued in his Plain Facts for Old and Young, claiming such fare prevented self-abuse. Consequences manifested as malnutrition and stunted growth, with some developing digestive woes from the monotonous intake. Kellogg himself exemplified this, inventing cornflakes at his Battle Creek Sanitarium to curb patients' impulses. Yet this gustatory control paled beside the veil of shadows that enveloped the third practice, where sight itself became the enemy. The third practice, nocturnal obscurity, demanded absolute blackness for any intimate moment. Imagine a couple in a London townhouse, fumbling in pitch-dark chambers where the heavy scent of coal smoke seeped through sealed windows, fabrics feeling clammy and unfamiliar in the void. The mechanic involved extinguishing all lights, candles, lamps, even moonlight blocked by thick curtains, ensuring no visual cues guided the act. Rationale drew from advice manuals like Ruth Smither's Instruction and Advice for the Young Bride, positing that visibility encouraged lustful excess, preserving modesty and sanctity. Consequences often included awkward mishaps, leading to frustration and injury, with some partners growing distant from the impersonal encounters. Smithers, a clergyman's wife, embodied this in her 1894 pamphlet, urging brides to feign headaches in the gloom. But if darkness hid the body, the fourth practice invoked superstitions that twisted architecture into omens of doom, escalating the oddity into physical peril. The fourth practice, Stairway taboo, forbade any amorous activity on steps, rooted in folkloric dread. Visualize a hurried embrace halted midway up a creaking staircase in a rural cottage near York. The musty smell of damp would overpowering, treads rough and splintered underfoot. The mechanic required vigilant avoidance, with couples relocating to flat surfaces, justified by beliefs that such positions cursed offspring with deformities, as noted in Eugene Beckler's counsel to husbands and wives. Consequences range from interrupted passions causing resentment to actual accidents on unstable stairs, amplifying risks. Beclard, a French physician whose works circulated in England, cited cases of crooked-backed children as proof. This architectural aversion, however, seemed quaint compared to the medical intrusions of the fifth practice, where healers wielded tools to enforce bodily obedience. The fifth practice, hysterical paroxysm, involved clinical interventions to alleviate female nervousness, depict a doctor's consulting room in Edinburgh, redolent with the sharp tang of carbolic acid and herbal tinctures, the leather couch slick and cold against skin. The mechanic entailed manual or mechanical stimulation to induce a crisis of release, rationalized as treatment for hysteria, a catch-all diagnosis for unrest, protects like George Drysdale's Elements of Social Science. Consequences included dependency on sessions, with some women suffering infections from unsterile methods, while others faced social stigma if discovered. Dr. Joseph Mortimer Granville, inventor of an early electric device, distanced himself from its misuse, though his innovation fueled the practice. Before we proceed to even darker territories, let's pause for a lightning round of Victorian curiosities. First, couples believed simultaneous climaxes determined a child's resemblance, turning beds into competitive arenas. Second, flirtatious glances were deemed gateways to venereal plagues, prompting veils and averted eyes. Third, postcoital sneezes were forbidden, lest they expel life's essence and doom conception. These flashes reveal the era's frantic grasp on the unknowable. The sixth practice, flagellant discipline, elevated pain to a pathway of ecstasy in clandestine establishments. Recall that chamber where leather met flesh, the acrid sweat now intensified by the coppery hint of exertion, rope's fibrous grip tightening with each lash's whistle. The mechanic required rhythmic application of whips or birches, often in brothels like those on Cleveland Street, justified as a release for pent-up energies in a repressed society, as chronicled in anonymous memoirs like the Whippingham Papers. Consequences encompass scarring and addiction, with infections from shared implements claiming lives. Teresa Berkeley, a notorious madam operating a flagellation house in Soho, amassed a fortune from elite clients before her death in 1836. If flagellation scarred the surface, the seventh practice delved deeper, harnessing lightning's kin to jolt the unwilling body. The seventh practice, galvanic revival, employed electrical currents for revitalizing flagging vigor. Envision a dimly lit clinic in Bath, the ozone-like smell of sparking apparatus overpowering, wires metallic chill pressing against clammy skin amid the hum of generators. The mechanic involved attaching electrodes to sensitive areas, delivering pulses to stimulate function, rationalized by quack doctors as curing impotence through vital force, as promoted in advertisements for Pulvermacher's electric belts. Consequences included burns, nerve damage, and false hopes leading to despair. Samuel Varley, an engineer whose devices were adapted for such uses, unwittingly contributed to this trend in the 1870s. Yet this shocking therapy appeared tame next to the eighth practice, where adornment pierced the boundary between fashion and folly. The eighth practice, mammary perforation, saw elite women adopting metallic embellishments in private. Picture a discreet parlor in Mayfair, the metallic scent of silver mingling with rosewater, the needle's cold sharpness yielding to the smooth ring's weight. The mechanic required surgical insertion of rings for jewelry, often self-performed or by jewelers, justified as enhancing sensitivity in a corseted age, per correspondence in Society magazine. Consequences involved infections and sepsis, with some facing marital discord upon discovery. Lady Florence Paget, rumored among high society circles to have indulged around 1880, exemplified the trend's secretive allure. But if perforation altered the form, the ninth practice bent nature itself, invoking the elements in a ritual of cosmic whimsy that bordered on madness. The ninth practice, atmospheric procreation, dictated conception aligned with celestial winds. Imagine a couple in a windswept manor on the Cornish coast, the salty gale carrying earthy loam smells through open windows, drafts icy against exposed limbs as they awaited the northerly shift. The mechanic demanded monitoring weather vanes, proceeding only under favorable breezes, rationalized by folklore that northerlies bred hardy offspring, as in Beckler's treatise's warning of southerly weaknesses. Consequences included missed opportunities leading to childlessness or strained unions from constant vigilance. Arthur Munby, a diarist who documented such beliefs in his encounters with working-class women, noted a case in 1865 where a delayed birth was blamed on errant winds. Returning to that chamber of lashes, where the leathers bite and sweat's reek first drew us in, we see now how Victorian England's shadows hid not just torment, but a labyrinth of the bizarre. Tune in next time as we uncover the forbidden rites of Edwardian excess, where the echoes grow even wilder.